Yes, children. So today we have to deal with the next chapter in the statistics, that is the collection, organization and presentation of data. In our textbook, it is given as three different chapters, but for the sake of your simplicity, we will deal it as a single chapter. Okay. So that is, we are starting with the collection, organization and the presentation of data. So starting with that, what is statistical inquiry? That is not inquiry, inquiry. That means INQUIRY. Statistical inquiry is a systematic process of collecting and analyzing data about some group of people or objects by using statistical techniques. If you are collecting a data on the basis of a study, that is called statistical inquiry. Example, you are going to study about illiteracy in India. Not illiteracy in India, in your locality you are taking illiteracy in your locality. So that means our problem is, or our research problem is, what is to be done, or what data is to be collected for analyzing how many illiterates are there in our locality. So what we will do, we will collect all the educational qualification details of our locality, people in our locality, and we will complete our study. So the method of collecting all the data required for our study, it is called statistical inquiry. And okay, so you have two people involved in that statistical inquiry process. One is investigator. Investigator means one who collects information, or one who collects data is called investigator. That means who actually do the study. That person is called investigator. Then you have enumerator. Enumerator is the person who helps investigator with the study. And you have respondents also. Respondents means from which or from whom the investigator collects the data. So they are the three people involved in a statistical study: investigator, enumerator and respondents. Investigator is the person who actually conducts the study. Then enumerator is the one who helps investigator to collect the data, and respondents is the one, or not the one, it's a group of people from whom the investigator collects the data. And statistical inquiry passes through the following stages. So a statistical study has to pass through the following stages, then only it can be regarded as it is a complete study. First one is planning of statistical inquiry. That means actually in this stage we actually starts our statistical inquiry. We are actually planning to do what is the problem we have to study. We are actually taking a decision upon which the topic of study, or which problem we have to get a solution. That problem, that selection of that problem is actually done with this stage. Then in that stage you have objective or purpose of statistical inquiry. Subpart of planning and statistical inquiry. Objective, what objective has to be fulfilled after completing the study. Then scope of inquiry, what is actually the place of that study in the upcoming future. That means what you could say, if we are actually studying about accidents in our locality, that means it helps us to take measures on how to improve these how to improve the conditions to minimize the accidents. So that has a very good scope in the future. Then population to be studied. Population means our what you could say, the study area, or study the statistical unit or statistical people group upon which we are going to study. So if we are going to study about road accidents among youth, means we will never choose old age people and children. We have to choose among the people from 20 to 30 years or 30 of age group. So that is our population. So all people falling under the age group of 20 to 30 comes in our study. That is population. And if you take your locality, there will be numerous of people in that age group. So it is very, what you could say, it is very difficult to study each and every response. So what we will do, we will take a sample. Sample means the representative group of the population. That means maybe we will take first 50 people, or we will take first 100 people. So we will take informations from them and we will generalize the conclusion. Okay, so maybe from first 50 people or first 100 people, we are getting information that they are actually in overspeed. So what we will generalize now? We will generalize that the accidents caused by the youth people or among the youth age in the locality, in the selected locality, is due to high overspeed or high speed. So we will generalize accordingly. That is called sample. Then sources of data collection. Second point is, second method or second step is sources of data collection. You have two types of data collection: primary data collection and secondary data collection. Primary data collection means actually we are collecting the data for the first time. Secondary data collection means we are using a data which is already being collected by some other investigator. Then techniques of data collection. Techniques of data collection is actually, I told, census method or sampling method. That is, census method means we will consider all the people in the population, the whole population. You know, in India we actually have census once in 10 years. That means to know about the condition of Indians or condition of the people living in Indian economy. So that means what about private jobs, public job, what is the population of the country, all these informations regarding all these things you will get from census. So now next census is coming in 2021, that is 2021. So census method means each and every person in the country is taken consideration. So in our study also, if we are taking all the people under the age group of youth, that means 20 to 30 means we consider all the population. But if we are taking a representative group from our population, means that is sampling method. So that is census and sampling. And according to the performance of the sample, we actually generalize what is to be done. Then execution of the statistical inquiry. Collection of data. What is the collected data is presented neatly and organized neatly. Then processing of data. It is actually checked, edited, all biased things are being eliminated. All such the filtering is done in the processing of data. Then organization of data. Organization of data means according to some order it is organized. Okay, either in raw data means it will be like we are collecting from so many sources. So we don't know actually, like we will not get a typical order when we collect data. So that is raw data. Raw data means which is not have been numerically arranged. So we will numerically arrange it either in ascending order, descending order or any other order. So like that we will arrange the got data. That is organization of data. Then analysis and interpretation of data. Then after organizing, we will present the data. Present the data through tabular representation. That is tables, graphs, diagrams. You have seen pie diagrams and all, right? So that is how we present our data. Then analysis and interpretation of data. We actually draw conclusion from our study. If we are taking accident case, we will study that, according to high speed or due to high speed, so many people lost their lives who belongs to the young age. Then preparation of the report. A summary we will prepare for our study. Then presentation of the report. Instead of submitting the whole study, that is this, after reading this report, the whole idea of your study has to be reflected in that report. So if third person is reading that report, he will feel very easy to understand your study. Likewise, you have to prepare your report. So you prepare and present your report in the last stage. So this is how a statistical inquiry is taken place, and in each and every step we have to go in detail. Okay, that is what is we are dealing in this chapter, that is collection, organization and the presentation of data. So in the next video we will be dealing out with the sources of data, how data are being collected, or collection of primary data and secondary data we will deal with, and we will deal with the methods of collecting the data also. Okay. Yes, so now we will move on to the collection of data. And collection of data, before moving on to that, we have to know what is data. So data is a numerical description of certain observation or things. So what is our problem? What is our research problem? according to that problem, our numerical description of our research problem is called a data. And raw data means it is not actually organized numerically. And when the raw data is arranged in a particular order, you call it as ordered data. All these things you have to take down because it is not from your textbook I am explaining. Then you have internal data and external data. Internal data means it is from the internal records and reports of the organization. If you are taking a company to study, if you are taking what you could say, the data from inside that company, it is internal data. And if you are collecting outside from that source, it is called external data. Then you have primary data and secondary data. Primary data means the investigator himself collects the data. Okay. And the secondary data means which is already collected by a person and it is used by some another person for study. And you have certain difference between primary and secondary data. First one is difference in originality. Difference in originality means primary data is original in character. You know what you collected. But if someone is collected, you don't know the quality of that data. So that is not original in character. So secondary data is not original in character. It has a chance of being biased. That means there are chance of being errors. Then difference in suitability. Always primary data suits your study, right? You have a feeling that whatever in my notebook only I should write. If someone writes, it will never it will never suits our it's a character. I personally feel that because in all my things only I have to do. Like we have a feeling like that. So that means in our study only primary data fits us. But due to some technical problem, if you could not actually do primary data or collect primary data, we have to use secondary data. But secondary data, they have problem of getting biased informations. That means we don't know. Somebody has been collected it some another day. We don't know that is actually. So that is why there is a chance of errors. Then difference in cost of collection. Primary data includes more cost because we are actually going and meeting the face-to-face respondents and taking informations from them. It is time consuming also and it is very expensive also. And like you think government do census of India very free of cost? No, they actually hire government servants to do that, government teachers. So they have to be paid. So that means it involves a very huge cost and also time. Then secondary data involves less cost because it is already published. You don't have to worry about the cost of collecting it. So these are the differences between primary data and secondary data. Now you have methods of collecting primary data. What all methods we can use to collect the primary data? First one is direct personal investigation or interview. You are going to the respondent, you are talking to him or her and collecting the information. That is direct personal interview. Then indirect oral investigation. Indirect oral investigation means indirect oral investigation means some people, like our population of study is different, but we are collecting the different information from different person. Suppose we are going to study about alcoholic consumption of people, and they may hesitate to tell us how many times they actually use alcohol in a day. So what we will do, we will go to his family and we will seek information from them. So that is indirect oral investigation. Then information from local agents or correspondents like brokers, commissioners, like that you actually hire them to get informations. Then mailed questionnaires. See, if you visit all these showrooms and all, no, especially this textile showrooms, supermarket, they will give us a questionnaire. They actually give it in our hand, but you have certain things where you get the questionnaires through your mails. So likewise also you can collect the data. Then questionnaires to be filled by the enumerators. So maybe sometimes we are focusing on the rural area for our study. So that means they are not actually so literate to read and answer the question. So what we will do, we will hire an enumerator to help our study or to collect the data, to help to collect the data. And what we will do, we will tell the enumerator to, he will talk to the respondent and he will actually do the markings in the questionnaire. So that is questionnaires to be filled by the enumerators. And you have to keep it in mind certain points while designing a questionnaire. First one is covering letter. Covering letter has to say what is the purpose of this our questionnaire. So that is covering letter. Then and you should add this information will be confidential, we will not share with anyone, so they feel actually free to share their informations with us. Then limited number of questions. Limited number of, see, if you see so many questions listed out, you will feel very bored to read out, right? So that means it has to be limited in numbers. Then the question has to be very limited, maybe 5 to 10 questions, and it has to be very clear or very sharp. Okay. Then numbering has to be very clear. Then it has to be to the convenience of the informants. Then clarity of the question is very important. You should not ask any vague type of questions. Then, and which is also confusing. It has to be very clear and sharp. The question has to be very clear and it has to cater our needs of study also. Then logical arrangements of question. You should not ask what is the educational qualification in the last and name in the last. You should start with a logical order. Name, age, gender and educational qualification. If monthly income is actually needed for your study, you can add that also. So basic informations should come in the top, and the related questions or the related questions related to our study should come in the logical order after. Then avoid certain types of questions. That means very personal questions. Is your marriage life happy? Or what do you feel by getting this marks? Like that, like questions has to be avoided, which hurts their personal feelings. Then objectivity of the questions. Actually, yes or no questions has to be included more, because writing descriptive answers, reading the questions, they feel very, what you could say, they feel very difficult to answer, inconvenience to answer. So they will never mind our questionnaire. So it has to be very objective. Then definiteness of answers. It should not be maybe or may not be. It has to be yes or no. Or what is the, or if we are giving 4 options, it has to be like we have to select properly from the available options. Then capability of brief answers. You have to be very one sentence, or like what are the suggestions to improve our shop. Like that also, like that you can add. Then impartial. It should not be partial. You should never show partiality in the questions you design. Then avoid question involving calculation. What is the average income you got in 2015 compared to 2018? It is very difficult to answer. Then avoid question involving strain, like personal questions or unsatisfactory, like that it is. Then pre-testing. The questionnaire has to be pre-tested every time. That means it will, like, by selected 10 or 20 people or 5 to 10 people you select first, then give them this questionnaire, then tell them to do it. Then you will get an idea of where to improve or to present that questionnaire to the population. That is called pilot survey. Pilot survey means it is actually the pre-testing of the questionnaire what we have designed. So pilot survey, you have to take notes. Don't leave it. It is very important. Then cross checks. Cross check with the pilot survey, which has to, it has to be improved. Some question has to be included, like that. Then attractive layout. It should not be like very cozy and all. It should be like very sharp and clear. Then clear cut instructions. Your name has to be given, your gender has to be, like, whatever informations you want, you have to be very clear about that, or put a star indicating that this star indicates compulsory questions. Then format and types of questions. Simple alternative questions, multiple choice you can add, yes or no questions you can add, or open-ended questions you can add. So that is the type of question or points of questionnaires to be noted while preparing a questionnaire. Next is sources of data collection, that we will deal in the next video. Okay. Yes. So we will move on with the sources of collecting secondary data. We have done with the primary data collection. Now we will move on to the secondary data collection. In that you have two sources. The first one is published sources and unpublished sources. So published sources means the publication of various organizations. What you could say, the annual survey reports of the organizations, companies, then economic survey, census of India, put forwarded by Indian economy, then National Council of Applied Economic Research and Statistical Institute, Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, then like that journals and newspapers, annual reports of joint stock companies, all such published sources are coming under this source. Then unpublished sources, that means suppose we are going to learn about or study about some what you could say residential associations, how residential associations improve the quality of life of people. So that means we are actually taking, it is not actually anywhere published, it actually is maintained by the president of the residential association. So you go visit him and take all the related informations from him. So that is unpublished source, like clubs, then what you could say research institutions, individual scholars, universities, they never publish their resources or informations. So they are called unpublished sources. So if you are taking secondary data from unpublished sources, that is actually there is a chance of being biased. That means they are never published. So if the data is getting published, they actually are aware of what is to be published. So there are some little biases, what you could say, minimized. But bias can be there, but minimal bias will be there. Then techniques of data collection. First one is census method and the other one is sampling method. In the census method, it is the technique in which required statistical information is collected by each and every unit of population. And you have sampling method, as I told you. In sampling method, you take a representative group of population and you will conclude by their performance. If sampling people are telling like this, you will actually conclude for the whole population like that. As I told you, if we are going to study about road accidents among youth, it is very difficult to take all the youth in your locality. So what you will do, you will collect from the first 50 persons you see. So if they are saying that they are on a high speed when driving, what you will do, you will generalize the conclusion that in your locality or in the selected locality of study, the road accidents are happened due to the high speed accepted or done by the people or youth. That is why that is the reason main behind for the road accidents, increasing road accidents in the country. And you are studying in your locality, so you will generalize for the whole nation like that. Among the nation, all youth are actually taking high speed while driving, which is causing to the road accidents, increasing road accidents in the economy. So you will actually conclude like that. So that is actually sampling method. And in sampling method, you have to do with two other things. First one is random sampling and the other one is non-random sampling. Yes, so now we will move on to the random sampling method. In the sampling method itself, you have two more methods, that is sampling method and non-random sampling method. That is sampling and non-random sampling. Sampling means, see, if you are taking a study, if you are taking a sample from the population, so everyone has equal chance of being selected. So you don't know anybody in the population. So you are just taking some samples from the group or from the population. Like I'll tell you an example. In the class, for an activity, teacher is selecting random people from the whole class. The whole class is the population and the selected people are the samples. So every children, that is the 50 students have equal chance of being selected. So non-random sampling means actually the investigator himself collects the sample according to his convenience. That means maybe if the study is the study is limited to youth people, he will select the persons from youth category. And if the study is limited to old age, he will only select the sample from old age. It is up to his convenience, he is selecting the samples. So if old age he is selecting, they don't have a chance of being selected. Youth doesn't have a chance of getting selected. So that means non-random sampling means the investigator collects sample or takes sample according to his convenience or his judgments or his decision. So random sampling means anyone or the whole people has chance to get selected in the sample. But here it is non-random sampling. Everyone doesn't have a chance of being selected. It is according to the decision and judgment, or we could say the convenience of the investigator. He collects the sample. And you have sampling errors and non-sampling errors. Sampling errors means, as I told you, in the case of our study was road accidents among the youth. We are going to collect the data from the sample, and we collected data from 100 people, but our population was 1000. But from that 1000 people is very long, so we collected from the first 100 people and we generalized the conclusion. So that may be wrong, right? It may our conclusion was high speed was the reason of accidents, increasing road accidents. But we didn't collect from the 1000 people. It may be eyesight problem, health problem, fear when you drive. Maybe all these things can be the reason also. But we didn't actually check out that. We selected sample from our population and we concluded that their response is actually the generalization. That means it's the overspeed causing more accidents. So that is sampling error. Sampling error can be minimized if you take large number of sample. Okay, but non-sampling errors means maybe you are getting a wrong information from the sample you selected. Maybe youth people will not be very comfortable to share informations of their speed, using speed, or they actually drink and drive. All these things can happen, but they hesitate to share with you. But from the information you got, you will actually conclude the data, conclude the study. So there is a chance of non-sampling errors. Non-sampling errors you cannot actually minimize if you take large sample. All are telling the wrong information. That means the study itself will be biased. But we don't know what is actually happening. They keep it in their mind and say something else to us. So that is called non-sampling error. So sampling method and sampling. In sampling method you have sampling, random sampling and non-random sampling. And you have sampling errors and non-sampling errors. So you have to take notes on that. Then we will move on to the organization of data in the next video. Okay. Yes. So now we will move on to the organization of data. Organization of data means the collected data you are arranging in some order. So that means arrangement of the data in a condensed form and their proper and suitable grouping through classification and tabulation. So what we want, we are actually designing our raw data into such a position. And classification means it is the process of grouping data into various classes according to some common characteristics. And when this classified information is presented in the group in the form of well-designed, precise and systematic table, it is called tabulation. So tabulation means it is the arrangement of a system, arrangement in a systematic, well-designed and precise form as in a table. The collected data or the raw data, you are actually representing it in a tabular form. So that is organization and classification of data. And you have variable, meaning and types of variables. Variables means actually which can be measured and expressed in numerical and quantitative terms, which can change its value or different items. That means age, height, weight, all these things you can quantify. In quantitative terms you can describe them. And weight differs from person to person. Height differs from persons to person. So that means it can take different value also, and also it is actually measured or expressed in numerical terms. Then discrete variables are those variables which take only exact values. You have discrete variables and continuous variables. Discrete means exact values. That means 2, 3, How many children are there in the family? 2. You cannot say it is 2.3, 2.7. It is 2 or 3. And continuous variable means actually it takes a numerical value, integral or a function or with a certain range. 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, like that that is actually certain range. And 2.5, 2.3, it can take integral, it can take fraction. That is called continuous variable. But exact variable, that means discrete, means it is actually exact values. That is 2, 3, that is whole numbers it takes. Then classification of data. Classification of data means it is the process of arranging raw data into different groups or classes according to some common characteristic or criteria. You are taking, suppose, height of the people. You will collect all the heights, raw data. You will take a tabular presentation, and you will just represent 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 5. How many people, like that you will actually take number. You will actually classify the data. Then classification also is a process of arranging data into sequences and groups according to their common characteristics or separating them from the different related parts. And you have objectives of classification. Why you need a classification of data? It is to simplify the data, scientific arrangement, utility. Utility means actually it gives what you could say, enhance the utility of data means enhance the clarity of the data. Then distinctive feature. You will easily arrange, or you will easily identify what is the important point in that tabular representation. Then comparability. It can be easily compared with one another. And also relationship. You can study the relationship among the variables very fast if you classify the data. Then types of classification. Geographical classification. Geographical classification means it is on the basis of geographical area. That means within the specified place or within the specified geographical area. Then chronological classification means according to monthly, weekly, daily, like that. Wages daily or monthly or weekly, like that you can actually classify your data. Then qualitative classification. There you use characteristics or attributes. Maybe color, then marital status, that is divorced, married, single, like that. Then literacy level, then color of eyes, that is all characteristics or attributes according to which you classify the data. And you have symbol or twofold classification and manifold classification for this qualitative data. Symbol means only one variable is involved. That means population, if you take male or female, that is single classification. Manifold classification means population, male and female, according to that literate or illiterate. So in male, literate and illiterate, in female, literate and illiterate, like that it will come. So that is complex classification or manifold classification. Then to the last you have quantitative classification, that is according to height, weight, then income, then score in cricket, marks in exam, like that you will classify. So when a phenomena assumes different values, it is called variable. So it is actually represented in number, and also it is what you could say, it is actually it differs in value for different people, and it is also known as classification of variables. So these are the classification of data: geographical, chronological, qualitative. In qualitative itself, symbol and manifold. Then quantitative classification. Then you have classification of the statistical series that we will deal in the next class. In the next class, we have to deal with the frequency table, then discrete variable, continuous variable, how to prepare a frequency distribution table, then exclusive series, inclusive series, all things, frequency array, all these things we will deal in the next class. Okay, next day we will deal all these things. So I will be sending the reference notes You have to take notes because all these things which I have added, it is not from your textbook. I have added from the other textbooks also. So in the reference note I'll send, you have to take notes on that. Okay. So yeah, that's it. We will wind up today. So thank you. Have a good day. Next class we will deal with the classification of statistical series. Classification of data is not yet over. After classification only you can move on to the presentation of data. So presentation of data is very interesting. Okay. So classification is also very interesting. So classification of statistical series we will move on in the next video. Okay. Thank you. So take care. Stay safe.